holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up for brekkie, lunch, or dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. They just drop them at your door, people. You'll save time and eat well. You'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while taking all of your holiday to-dos in stride with good meals in the tum-tum. If you're too busy with all this stuff, these meals are easy. Easy to get done. They taste great. All you've got to do is head over to factormeals.com/expandingreality50 and use code expandingreality50 to get 50% off. That's code expandingreality50 at factormeals.com/expandingreality50 to get 50% off.
At Sleep Outfitters Outlet, great sleep is a big deal. Save 40 to 60% every day on every Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Tempur-Pedic. Queens as low as $249. Customer exchanges, closeouts, and floor samples. Inventory changes daily, so come in for your dream deal today. With no credit needed financing, expert advice, and up to 60% off retail, it's never been easier to get the sleep and savings you deserve. Go to sleepoutfittersoutlet.com for financing details and to find a store near you.
A choice right now between fear and love. It's just a rock.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expounding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. If you are just joining us for the first time, yes, that is how I intro every single episode. On this one, we have Chris Mathieu of Forbidden Knowledge News. He is coming to hang out and talk about all the cool things. He describes his contact experience, which is absolutely fascinating. We also, of course, dump into the Hollow Earth, secret space program, super soldiers, UFOs, ETs, magic, talk about a little bit of current events, manifestation, things like that, guys. This one covers the gamut. And with a guy like Chris, you can do that because he's incredibly intelligent and insightful, so we can go anywhere with this stuff. So you guys check the show notes for all the way to find him. Check the show notes as well if you want to expand your experience on the show here with expandingrealitypodcast.com. It is linked down there for everyone to see, so y'all go check that thing out. So without any further ado, guys, let's get right to this thing. This is Chris Mathieu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everybody out there in listening world, reptilioids, any Sasquatch that happen to pick up this channel as well, you guys are welcome to listen to. We have the great and powerful Chris Mathieu on the show. He's a badass, guys. Forbidden Knowledge News, of course, beyond classified, the stuff you do over on Rockfin. And, dude, you're just a staple in this community, man. You've interviewed damn near everybody. I've been a fan of yours personally for a really long time. You were gracious enough to have me on your show recently. You've also, dude, just invited me to a couple of panels that you've done. I know they're Day Zero you had me out for, and that was a lot of fun. And then we did that Halloween hang, which was crazy. And my friend actually was watching. I forgot to tell you this the other night when we were messaging, but a friend of mine was watching the Halloween hang that we did, and that was a lot of fun, man. He goes, and I didn't know he was watching it, so whenever I bailed, he was like, the second that you hopped off, they started talking about jerking off. I was like, okay. And I was like, dude, that was so much fun, man. We just had a really, really good time. Anyway, so Chris Mathieu, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. Always great talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to this, man. Thank you for having me on.
Dude, absolutely. Like I said, man, you're a badass. We've just become buddies, and I really appreciate that. You're just open
And the
arms.
check is in the mail for all those kind words, of course.
Yes, absolutely. I'll just PayPal you, man. It's a lot easier, right? So you talk about all the cool things, man, and I hope to touch on damn near all of them tonight. I hope that we sprinkle in a little bit of every fucking topic that you've covered on your show, which is going to take a while, because how long have you been doing the show again?
Going probably on 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we cover everything, like anything and everything. There's nothing probably that I wouldn't, cover eventually. Even sex space robots, Why not?
I know. Let's definitely get into the sex-based robots, because I think it's a real thing. It's a psyop that is being withheld from us, like everything, right? It's being withheld. So let's talk about that. Why the name Forbidden Knowledge News?
Okay, so this started out as a Facebook blog, really, and I called it. It was something different in the beginning. I don't even remember the original name of it. It was focused more on like planetary changes and Earth changes. It had, a little bit to do with conspiracies, but in the early days, I was focusing a lot on the Earth changes that were happening and other things of that nature. But I don't remember what the original name is. It eventually became Forbidden Knowledge, and then Forbidden Knowledge News was after I started interviewing people because I felt like I should have people a little smarter than myself presenting information, because the blog picked up some speed. People were liking it and listening to what I was saying. And I was like, this is weird. I was just going over, things I was learning, conspiracies, things I was learning about our history, different realities that we weren't taught in school, and just a bunch of stuff that I found interesting, that I found fascinating, and thought that other people would want to know about, things that were hidden from them. And the blog, like I said, picked up speed, and I eventually started interviewing people that I respected, authors, researchers, people that I knew were smart than myself, and people that I thought could present the information a lot better than I could. And it eventually became what it is today, a podcast. And now I like featuring other podcasters to help them get to, where they want to be in this space. So we started a network doing that as well. And that's where I am today.
Yeah, and your network's awesome. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, the network it's a podcast network. It's we feature different podcasters that want their show on our network. We have shows like Raised by Giants with Ryder Lee. We've got Inception podcast, Gloria Canning. We've got our Day Zero, of course, Forbidden Knowledge News and Beyond Classified. And I just want to help people in this space that are trying to do podcasting get their show out there. And what better way to do it than to feature it on our website and have everybody very easily accessible on there.
What I love about this game the most is it's all the people. It's you. It's guys like you, because this community has been so open-armed. I mean, you get a new podcast that comes out, and they reach out to you, and everybody's just like, hell yeah, and let me introduce you to Chris, right? And then we swap guests. It's like this whole community of people that is just so open-armed. No matter what you talk about, we have each other on each other's shows. We share each other's shit. It's just like the coolest community, because it really is the model. And I haven't met a greedy, stingy person in podcasting yet. I haven't met them all, of course, but I haven't met them yet. But it seems like this really, really cool community. So I love this type of thing, this like the rising tide raises all ships type model, this abundancy type model. And I think what you're doing with your thing is just badass, man. So way to go.
Well, thank you so much. You're absolutely right. I think it also has to do with the conscious community, people that are seeking knowledge, seeking for themselves, seeking spirituality. I don't know how many conferences you've been to, not even just UFO conferences, but spiritual conferences, consciousness conferences. When you get a bunch of those people together and you feel the energy and the conversations and the wonderful atmosphere, there's nothing like it. It is a wonderful thing. You can feel the like-mindedness, the love, and the acceptance, and the conversations are amazing. So, it's not just, of course, I love doing what I do because I get to talk to amazing people like yourself and all these researchers I've respected. But once you get together and you can actually feel that energy amongst people, that brings it to a whole new level. Have you attended many conferences?
None whatsoever. That was the goal last year. It just didn't happen. I was other things, it just didn't happen. But I do plan to go to a bunch. I was supposed to meet you out there with Darcy and all that. I just didn't make it out to that one, man.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, it's always great to having, these like-minded people that are knowledge seekers together. To bring that together, it's like it's something I've never experienced before, and I really look forward to the next event, which is actually going to be this weekend. We're having a bunch of us get together here in Denver. So I don't know when you're going to air this, but if it's before the 7th or 8th of next week, come out to Denver, hang out with us.
Now I have to fast track it. Thanks a lot, Chris. You just jumped ahead in the queue. Nice job, man. That's a professional, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Not only the segue, but he guaranteed that he was at least going to be out this week. Nice job. Way to go, dickhead.
Man.
Nice job. So let me come back to some high craziness with you. So what was the first bit of forbidden knowledge that you discovered that started you on this path?
Oh, I would have to say, I've always been interested in the UFO phenomenon. I've always been interested in paranormal and ghosts. What really kind of got me looking at this, I was looking at some occult aspects of elite rituals and things of that nature, and I was like, wow, these guys are really into this stuff.
Right.
You know, they really believe it. These politicians, elite people, banksters and corporate entities, they do occult rituals, and some of them are Satanists, and some of them are doing these weird ass things and sacrificing babies and drinking blood. And I'm like, wow, I need to start looking into this stuff. And that led to down all the other rabbit. You know how it goes. Once you start looking into this stuff, you have to go down every connecting rabbit hole, and I did. And in the beginning, I wanted to share it so bad. But there are people who aren't ready to hear it. So I was very eager beaver in the beginning, trying to tell everybody I could about this, and there are those who aren't ready to hear it. So I had to reel that back. I learned very quickly that there are a lot of people who are not ready.
They're just not.
Then you just got to put it out there. If they want to look at it, they do. So that's what I started.
Absolutely. And it's guys like your model, man, and that really inspire me as well, because that's how I consider this. It's a lighthouse, dude. I'm not pushing any of this shit on anybody. The show's free. Just check it out if you want. Move along if you don't. Right. And so, yeah, man, for sure. Now, what's crazy too, man, is unlike you, I am not a contactee, but you are, dude. Tell us about that shit.
I don't even like the term contactee, especially for myself. I don't even know if that's what it is. I consider it more of a maybe paranormal spiritual experience now. I at one time I could definitely say I considered it a contact experience in the beginning when it first occurred. I have a different understanding now. But I guess you could call it that. I had conversations with something that I truly believe is not only other than myself. It may be a part of myself, but it definitely was an intelligence that I can 90% say for sure that was not fully myself, that was separate, that gave me knowledge that I never knew before, and that it was impossible for me to know. But it was a 3-day experience, and I had never had any kind of contact, had never paranormal experience in my life before. Like I said, I'd always been interested in the UFO phenomenon. I've always been interested in paranormal. I've even been on a few like ghost hunts and things of that nature, but I never experienced anything for myself. And it wasn't until after I started doing this show and seeking for myself and seeking more spiritual knowledge, I started meditating. And this contact experience, it only happened like almost 2 years ago. It was like a year and a half ago. And at the time, I was going through a bad breakup. It was a kind of rough time in my life. And I was trying to do meditation more. I was reaching a block in my meditation process. I couldn't get past a certain point, and I was getting frustrated. I couldn't go deep into meditation. My mind was always racing. And I guess I had also kind of like a childhood dogma type fear of contacting a demon or something like that. I don't know. Is some kind of weird fear that I would like make contact with something evil. But I kept on doing it because I knew that was, kind of ridiculous. So I wanted to get past that fear and go as deep as I could into this meditation process, because something intuitive was telling me to do it. Something intuitive was telling me that I needed to start meditating. So this all started one day when I was outside talking to a police officer, because in this relationship I had to get a restraining order against this ex-girlfriend.
It was one of those. Oh no.
Yeah, it was one of those. No. It was a crazy breakup.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's all good. It all worked out. So I'm talking to this officer about this crazy chick, and he's looking at me, but I'm kind of looking in the sky because I noticed something, and he's oblivious the whole time that I'm looking at this thing, and I have no idea what he's talking about at this point because I'm looking at these 3 orange flames in a triangular formation, kind of slowly going up in the sky. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. And then all of a sudden they stop and they're hovering in the sky. And I was like, well, that's really weird. And the cop is just talking. I'm like, I want to tell him, look, but I'm like, no. And then all of a sudden they go, boop, and they just kind of shoot up and disappeared. I'm like, it was really cool, but I don't know what the hell that was. I just kind of marked it off as an interesting experience that I saw in the sky. And it was even in the newspaper the next day. A few people saw it and they're like, what was that? So it was pretty interesting. So that night I actually did some meditation, and for some reason I put on some 432 hertz tones, and I was able to go really deep, really quickly. And I guess I could explain it in this way. It seemed like my mind and my consciousness, I guess it kind of left my body. I was in a kind of astral state. And I started seeing geometric shapes. I started getting these downloads of mathematics and like history, and all this information started flooding into my brain at the same time. It's very hard to kind of comprehend, but I knew it was real information coming from somewhere. And, it's like I'm traveling through time and space, and all of a sudden it all stops and becomes calm. And I'm in like just nothingness and darkness and peace. And it's like that for, a few minutes, and it feels very peaceful. And I'm like, this is nice. I guess this is what it's all about. And all of a sudden I start to feel this wonderful feeling of love that I've never felt. It was like it's like a drug. That's the only way I could describe it. That a love drug or something. I love my mom. I love my dad. I thought I loved my exes, but this feeling was like something I'd never felt in my life before. And it was so enveloping, so overwhelming. I was like, what is going on? And at the same time, this feeling is coming on, this light, this subconscious blue light comes into my subconscious peripheral vision on my right side, and it's getting closer. And as it's getting closer, this love feeling is getting stronger and stronger. And then I hear a voice. It's like, hello. It's in my brain. And it's like, hello. And it's instant communication. As soon, it starts talking to me. He's like, hey, how are you? Would you like to have a conversation? I'm like, what is going on? I said, in the name of Jesus, are you evil, or something like that? And as soon as I said, before I could finish, it's like, yes. And it sent me these beautiful feelings of love and calmness and reassurance. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. Okay. So I was like, what is this? What was going on? He's like, you're ready to have a conversation with me. So I was like, he's like, I've been waiting to talk to you. I'm like, okay, well, I love talking like this. This is amazing. I've never been able to have a conversation like this. What the hell's going on? And I kind of freaked out, and my eyes popped open. And I thought I was out of the meditative state, and I popped out of my bed, and I'm like, uh-oh, I fucked everything up. But no, he's still I feel this feeling of love, and it's still communicating with me and talking to me. And it's like, if you're ready to have a conversation, we got some stuff to talk about. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And it was like I was kind of stoned a little bit. It was like a weird drugged lovey-dovey feeling, and I'm like all happy, and I go sit on my bed, and I'm in a conscious waking state, but still talking with whatever this is. And I was like, all right, what's your name? And it's like, you wouldn't understand that. I said, just call me something you're comfortable with, something you're familiar with. I've always enjoyed my cousin's name, Laird, when I was growing up. So that popped into my head. I'm like, Laird, all right. He's like, good enough. So we just went on with the conversation. He proceeds to give me information about myself first, kind of what's going wrong with my life, what's going right with my life, what I should, start looking into and doing. And then we go expanding into what's going on in the world. There's some turmoil. There's things about to happen. And this was right before COVID really started taking off big and all the restrictions and all that. And I was like, is this about the COVID? He's like, yeah, this is going to turn into a huge global thing. Got to be prepared. There's going to be tough times. And, just a message that I'm a very tiny part of a collective that could be a solution to some of these problems.
Hell yeah.
That's the kind of message that I was getting. And that what I'm doing right now, this talk show, I need to keep doing. And at the time, I was in a terrible day job that I hated. I was making good money, though, but I hated it. I felt like I was sucking devil dick, waking up, going to work every day. Absolutely.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely miserable going to that job every day. So, and they tell me, you need to quit this job. You need to be happy. You need to make yourself happy and pursue this. I'm like, there's no way I'm making $300 a month off this show.
Right.
No, it's not going to happen. And they're like, yeah, just do it. Just do it. I'm like, no, but so that conversation went on for a while, arguing with whatever this entity that I'm not going to quit my job, because I was scared of that. I was terrified. I was making great money. This was a side thing for me, the Forbidden Knowledge News 2 or 3 nights a week. And it was cool, but I deep down, I wanted to do this. This is what I wanted to pursue. So the whole conversation lasted about 2 hours. We just went into the deepest, sometimes darkest alleys that I could ever imagine, but sometimes the most beautiful thing. And I learned a lot about myself and what was going on in the world and what I had to do. And, just giving me advice on, well, you should look into this. You should start reading this. You should start doing this. You should talk to this person. All this information, like, really? Wow. Okay. So that conversation went on, and then the connection just started to fade. It was like, eventually it was harder to understand what the entity was saying, and it was harder for me to keep the conversation going, basically. So it just kind of cut off. And after that, I wanted to understand. I wanted to know if it was real, because I was still doubting it. I was like, did that just happen? Was that an acid flashback? Or Jesus, what was going on? So I started reaching out to people, other contactees, other people that had similar experiences. And at first I thought it was aliens. At first I thought had a alien talking to me, a contact experience. And so I went with that for a while, but this again was a 3-day experience. This was day 1. Day 2, nothing happened. Actually, it was the day after. Day 2, I wanted it. I was like super like, did that happen? I want this to happen. I was super excited. I was kind of, I guess, too eager for it.
Yeah.
Tried to meditate and it didn't happen. I was like, so I just, all right, we'll do it again later. So it was the next day. Before I started meditating, something intuitively said, go in some water. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went in the bathtub, put on the 432 hertz tones, and just started relaxing and meditating. And even quicker this time, I was like, boom, down. And this time, it was a little different. I didn't travel through time or space or anything. I just kind of fell into this peaceful meditative state. Everything was blackness, darkness, nothingness. And all of a sudden, this white, beautiful light starts to envelop me. I don't feel this feeling of love, really. I don't feel very much of anything, but this white light just envelops me. This from the left side of my peripheral, and envelops my whole subconscious mind. And then all of a sudden, I'm in like a childhood memory. I'm reliving this childhood situation that I forgot about. But as soon as I was there, I remembered everything. And I was like, oh, I remember this. And then I remembered it was a very traumatic experience from my childhood, like that one of my childhood family friends perpetrated. I'm like, wow. It was like, remembering a traumatic event, really. And I freaked out a little bit about that for a while. And the entity had to like console me, and I was, it was very strange having that, kind of resurface. So, I continued this meditation again, and the entity showed up. The first one, Laird, showed up after I came out of this meditative state from remembering that this childhood event, and it was consoling me. And I was we proceeded to have another psychic communication little conversation, and I asked, well, where are you from? What are you? And this is I don't remember word for word what happened in this conversation, but he proceeded to tell me that they spread Christ consciousness through the galaxy for those who are ready to receive it. That's what I mainly remember him saying. And then I remember closing my eyes, and I'm like somewhere else. I can feel like the room changed, like I feel lighter, and I'm feeling this amazing feeling of love as well. But I close my eyes and I'm somewhere else. I open my eyes. I'm in my bathroom. I close my eyes and it looks like I can see outer space. I look and it looks like there's like, sterile tile floors that are blue and gray. And I look up and there's space, huge windows that are looking out into outer space. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I open my eyes back in the bathroom. And then I start to feel all these amazing feelings of love. Like I can tell that it's not just one entity anymore. I can feel like multiple entities around me, surrounding me with these feelings of love. And I'm like, wow, this feels like I started crying at that point because it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I started to see entities. They looked like little etheric animals. They were almost like transparent little birds and frogs, but they had robes on and they were humanoids.
Cool.
So this was, it was pretty cool. I saw one that kind of looked like a hairy Chewbacca in a robe and like even like this kind of like worm looking dude. It was very strange, like these etheric animal entities. And they started speaking to me. One of them was a frog and he said, welcome, he asked me something. Now, this whole conversation's kind of blurry because I was like crying so emotional during this. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There's a frog man talking to me. And he's like, do you accept your task that, you're given on this planet during the time you're here? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like bawling. And, we have more downloads, more information from, Mr. Frogman here. And I'm looking around and I'm on this huge ship. There's like 3 levels of like entities standing around, etheric entities on this. It looked like a ship. I guess I have a different understanding now. At the time, I thought it was on a spaceship. But I think it's a little something different than a spaceship. Now, this conversation only lasted maybe about 30 minutes with these entities. And I kind of ascend from the ship and I'm like back in my tub and everything's normal again. But I'm getting these weird constant downloads, information. Like, you got to do this. You got to read this. Go out and get these books. Go out and start looking at this. Talk to this person, just like constant all day for the rest of that day. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. But I still had my doubts. I was like, I don't know if this is real. What's going on? This is an acid flashback. That kept popping.
Dude, that's all I keep thinking. Yeah.
But so day 3, I want to do it again. But day 3 was a bad day because I did something I shouldn't have. I ate something I should. I have stomach problems and I've had a surgery in the past. And if I eat the wrong thing, it causes me a lot of pain. And I did that day like a jackass. And I was in bed. I couldn't move. I was in some of the worst pain I felt. And usually when I'm in that state, it lasts for a day or longer, at least a few hours. And it had just kicked in and I'm like, oh, there goes my whole night. I'm going to be here in pain. And I'm like, oh, let me talk to these dudes. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see what's going on here.
Hook up like an intergalactic laxative, dude. Yeah.
Let me see how real this shit is. So I'm like, start meditating. And I was able to get into a peaceful state, still in pain, but I'm like calling out. I'm like, hey guys, help me.
This is your boy.
Yeah. And Laird shows up and he's like, he sounds kind of like not annoyed, but he's like, you can do this yourself. So as immediately, like a few seconds after I feel him and that amazing feeling of love, it's like dissipates all the pain. Everything's gone. And I'm like, that was wild. Nothing has ever happened like that before. And he's just like, just remember, you can do that yourself. Peace out. And that was it. That was the last of that, contact situation for those 3 days. And that was kind of like my confirmation that something was going on, something real, whether it was, part of myself. And like I said, I have a different understanding of it now. I've had other experiences after that. I have used psilocybin mushrooms and recreated not recreated, but I've had contact experiences with mushrooms after that. Because they actually told me, they said, if you want to have easy contact, psilocybin's a good way. We'll show up, boom, we'll be there. And they have. So I've had a few after that. And it's funny, I've used psilocybin for years before and LSD, and I've never had any contact or anything like that ever happened to me before.
Yeah, same.
But after, they were like there, boom, every time. But yeah, and if you want, I can tell you about my understanding of what happened.
No, absolutely.
Compared
Please.
to, well,
I definitely. You're fascinating. Like I said, I'm a fan. I listen to your show. This is like me listening to one of your shows. This is fine. I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. Well, like I said, at first I thought it was ETs. I thought I was talking with some, I don't know, Andromedan Arcturian reptoids or something. I don't know, but something from outer space. I thought it was a ET because a lot of the contactees were, kind of pushing me in that direction. And then I just started, something pushed me to look into, angels and spirit guides and ancestors and things of that nature. And the more I started talking with other people in the spiritual realm and metaphysical realms, I now believe that I was talking with a combination of my higher self and spirit guides. I truly believe that it could also be our future self or ancestors. I'm not sure about the alien thing. I mean, they could be considered aliens, they're not us. They're not from here.
Right.
They're definitely not, some of them may not be human. I felt like some of the beings I were talking to were very, powerful and wise. So, but I do think that I have a very high intuitive feeling that Laird is a form of my future or higher self, along with these other either angelic spirit guides or ancestors. I am not sure exactly what they are, but that's just what my gut is telling me now. And that could probably change tomorrow. That could change, in 5 minutes.
Yeah, based on either new information or another experience, right? Because maybe they step you into understandings, because you got a big leap forward. And this is what, I'm not like jealous. I mean, I still got plenty of time, right? It's no big deal. I mean, they picked you over me, but whatever. No, it does, though. I'm interested. I embark on psychedelic, I'm a psychonaut myself. So embarking on those journeys is something that I'm like willing to do, and I've said this about psychedelics. It takes kind of a brave person to step into that. You've really got to want to explore, because there's no off switch. Like once you're in it. And probably the same thing with like a contact experience. I know that some people can bail out of those experiences by invoking Jesus or something like that, like what you said. But it's still interesting to me that you've had this experience, and now that when you get into the vibratory state that psilocybin mushrooms get you into, because that's what I think this is. That's what Kathleen Martin and I talked about, is that it's a vibratory deal. And that's why, like, when you resonate at a certain frequency, that kind of dial theirs in. And that's why two people can stand there, one sees a UFO, one does not, or one has contact experiences and whatever. But the vibratory thing is fascinating to me. So you had no contact before that, but now you have contact initiated by psilocybin trips. Not
always psilocybin, but in meditation as well.
Okay, so either way, but getting into that vibe, this is what's so interesting too about the control element of this, because you're like a great case study for this. You put yourself into different states, but they yield the same results. And the correlation between the two is that theta brainwave that you're able to achieve in those states. They both mirror each other, though induced by other things. And so the way that you interface with this world is manipulatable. It's flexible. And so that's what's so cool also, is you could just do this through meditation, through, I don't know, eating the right way, exercising the right way. It's just a state that you put yourself in, and you do get contacted by these beings. Now, what's interesting to me too is that the other side of it is true as well. You get contacted by like mean people, demons or whatever you want to call them, if your vibratory level is too close the other way as well. So there's kind of like...
I think that's what it has to do with. If you're in a lower frequency, if you're in a lower vibratory state, you're going to be contacting not so upper vibratory beings, high vibration beings, lower vibratory spirits, or whatever they are, Exactly.
And I was talking to, have you ever heard of Brown from, have you ever heard of the show Spectrum of Strangeness?
No, I have not.
It's really cool. I'm going to introduce you to Brown. He's a really cool dude. Anyway, we were talking about this idea, and man, the way that like reality works and everything like that is so crazy and mysterious and puzzling, right? And so when you talk about like topics like we do, you kind of go on this exploratory road to where your mind just expands so much and you're so deep into all these crazy topics. I wanted to ask, what is your favorite extra paranormal type thing out there that you've come across?
Oh, wow.
Just one that you enjoy like thinking about the most or whatever.
I'm really into the powers of the mind, manifestation, law of attraction, and the results you can get from positive thinking, and just changing your state of mind. Like, I've even heard you say this on your show before. Going to a shower and wanting to change your reality when you open that shower door, things of that nature. I I've used a sigil before, a money sigil, and it worked. Things like that. It's fascinating to me how you can manipulate the fabric of reality with energy and thoughts, and the power of positive energy and frequency and thinking. It's all malleable. It's this, like the force. It's this hidden energy that's all around us that controls everything, flows in and out, never everything, controls everything, and you can manipulate it, and you can affect reality with it. You can change reality just by the power of your mind and consciousness. That's what's fascinating to
me. And same here. Now back to your contact real quick. When you had that, did you ask them like what this whole place is all about? Like what the nature of this place is?
I didn't even get to that. No, there was so much that we were, discussing, and no, I didn't.
And this is why I mentioned Brown, is because that's what we were talking about. I'm not an experiencer, he's not either. And so we would be the most annoying abductees ever, because I would be asking him like, how's time travel work? Like, what the hell, take me over here. Are we on a ball, or what is this? Interdimensional, like what's going on?
Well, this was such like an emotional experience. It was more like they were showing me some heavy stuff that was going to happen. Like they were showing me, that there's going to be an evil technology, biological technology that's introduced to the public masses that we got to watch out for in the very near future. And like all these, kind of scary things. But like I said, they equaled it out with a lot of, positive things that could happen. It was a lot about, possible future timelines and things that were going to happen. And it got really emotional. And I didn't really put myself in the mind frame of asking him about, fun stuff that I was thinking about,
Have you been able to corroborate your experience of what you saw that they showed you with anybody else's?
Meaning
like anybody else that's had premonitions like that? Have you ever been to corroborate somebody else having like the damn near the exact same presentation by entities?
Well, almost. I've had quite a few people that say that have very similar experiences with, and they truly believe it was their spirit guides as well.
But I mean, the specific outcomes that you were foretold?
The specific outcomes, I'm sure that I have. I've spoken with so many people about premonitions and things that they've had about the future, but I never really put any correlations like that together. But I know that everything so far that they've told me is coming to fruition. Everything, which is very strange.
So fascinating to me. So this is one of the things I love about contact experiences. And I know that you know this too, is you talk to enough people that usually only get contacted by like one type of entity, right? If they see grays, that's all they see. They don't see Bigfoots and shit like that. If they see Pleiadians, sometimes they'll see grays because they kind of hang out together. It's like a Model T, right? They just kind of walk around, their little automatons that kind of work. That's kind of an understanding that we all have in the game, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like biological AI or something like that,
Yeah, like half organic, half AI or something like that, right? But they just kind of do whatever the hell that these other things tell them. But the point is that usually they have one type of entity contact that tells them one type of story, and it's something that's interesting to me, because then you get into like the psychology of like, why did that entity, number one, contact, let's say you specifically, and then, or anybody that's ever been contacted. But then you look at like, why did they tell them that specific thing when like Chris has had a different experience than Pam Nance has, or Denise Stoner, or, all of these people have different experiences. There are some commonalities, but
yes.
They're so different and so personal to you, which is fascinating to me, because
that's the thing that I've been going into lately, is the personality, like the personal aspect of this, how each person's experience is for them and no one else. That's why you rarely hear about, group experiences. And I'm always kind of wary of like, a group experience where they're all saying this, like, we were taken by a tall gray and, experimented on a table and we're all there. I don't know. That's their experience. It could be true. But for me, most of the ones that resonate most with me are the ones that happen by themselves, and it's very profound. And I can tell that, they emotionally have a connection to the experience. But it's so personal, and there may be like tiny similarities amongst each person's experience. Maybe a person will see a similar being or have something similar happen to them, but it is so personal for each person. That's which makes me think, that reality is, it's that's what it's all about. It's all about your experience. Whatever your experience is, going to be your truth no matter what. And nobody can change that. It may not be the truth for someone else, but if you experience it and you wholeheartedly believe it, it could be the truth no matter what, right?
Yeah, that's what's interesting is this whole concept of this consensus reality, which I've been talking a lot about lately, is this idea that we're all sharing a space. And maybe, but it's really like we're sharing a dream. And that dream is interpreted by everyone differently. Even everything you see around, there are no two people with the exact same perception out here, even though there are similar objects and, things that our five senses can pick up. But as far as extrasensory type phenomena that occur to people, that's what's so interesting about this as well, is it just feels like it's so personal for you that it's got to be part of your story. It's like if you play this out like you're like we're all one and you're just here to learn and experience, and this is a big game or whatever, maybe these are little clues that you drop along the way, little breadcrumbs. Is like this experience that you had that was very personal to you, you're going to need to receive it in this way, and you're going to feel like this about it, and it's altered you, it's made you better.
Oh, it's altered me in a lot, like especially intuitive feelings, and being able to pick up on things and read people has increased exponentially after that experience. And that's a big part of what drove me to quit my day job, is because I'd go there and I could feel everybody's shit like all day long. And I was around electronics all day. That was like, after my experience, I could feel like electronics, waves and 5G and all these, frequencies a lot more. I was more sensitive after this for some reason. It like opened up something in me to where I was a lot more sensitive to intuitive feelings. I could feel people's shitty day. I could feel people's emotions, and still to this day, it's more open, and more open at certain times too.
And people say that they can feel vibe from this. Like you and I right now are creating a vibe or an energy that other people, as they listen to this and hear the words that we're speaking and all of that, it has a combination of effects, but a lot of it has a vibe either way. And that's what they talk about. It's interesting. You said the specific 432 hertz when you talked about music, because that's part of the deal, right? At 440, like what everybody tunes to is just garbage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't do anything good for you. So this is what's interesting, though. Like I said, the personal experience of how this is and how personal it is just fascinates the hell out of me. But I want to ask you about, let's do like some Hollow Earth. Let's do some spitball fun things to talk about. Hollow Earth, what's your take?
I'm fascinated. I think it's very possible. I don't know if like the Hollow Earth model that they show you is like how it is. More along the lines, if there is, underground civilizations, they may have little pockets and caverns here and there. I'm fascinated with what could be at the North and South poles, based on, some satellite imagery I've seen, supposedly, Russian satellite images that were supposed to be classified that show like a hole in the top of it. I don't know if it's real, but it looks
like that
pretty real.
Vortex going in.
Yeah.
I'll put it up right here in the video. You're watching it right now. There you go. That's crazy.
Yeah. Things like that. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility. With everything else, all these other conspiracies. After 2020, we learned so many conspiracies that we thought were ridiculous and crazy were actually real. So it's not out of the scope of possibility. Even when you look at flat Earth, I'm no way a flat earther. I
love it.
I don't know.
I love it so much.
I don't know if the Earth is round either, but I find it fascinating that no real astrophysicist wants to come and debate this stuff, that they can't disprove some of the things that the flat earthers are saying, which is very interesting. So I don't know what to me, I am going with holographic reality right now, because I think we're in some kind of strange aliens video game or something. I don't think anything is real. I don't think anything is physical when you get down to the properties of it.
Yeah, it's like you store the memory as real, right? The data that you're collecting here is real, but like this in itself, right? It's like a holodeck or like a danger room in X-Men or something like that. It's just an area to play.
I think you and I were talking about like if somebody shoots into space and they believe they're going to see a flat Earth, they're going to see a flat Earth. And, if they believe they're going to see a round, planet, that's what they're going to see.
I really think it's that
pizza
deep.
on a turtle's back, whatever it is.
That's right. I really do think it's like that. I really do. It's just fascinating to me because of the juxtaposition of people's experiences and even things that are caught on camera and reports and things like that. Same time, same place. I used the example not too long ago about the Afghanistan thing. There was a cafe film, and it was during that whole thing that happened or whatever. And there were people running down the street and knocking over chairs and stuff like that. But you could see the chairs, you could see the sign, landmarks are there, sun is high in the sky, whatever. And then there was somebody else though that posted a video, same day, same time, same street, but across the street you could see the sign, you could see the chairs and everything, and everyone's just sitting out there at a cafe just having coffee. Nothing going on, nothing traumatic and nothing crazy. The same thing happened in Australia recently with the craziness. Same street. There's a bunch that are like this. Who knows if they're real or not? But what's interesting and what it points to is more of this confirming. I mean, because everything confirms your belief. So I might be confirming this as I start to think of it more, and then reality is just doing that because I find it interesting. That's how crazy it is, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like it didn't exist before you started thinking about it, right?
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, please.
Okay. Well, another thing I find fascinating along those same lines is the complete different timelines that people seem to be on right now.
Yes.
We talked about this too. I believe that some people are terrified of going outside. They want to wear 2 masks and get an experimental gene therapy because they think there's a oogada-boogada pandemic that's going to kill everybody. And they think Fauci's God and Savior. And
that's just their journey.
That's their timeline. And but
right.
there's people like us that will go outside, the sun's shining, there's beautiful people around, it's a normal day, I'm gonna go buy me some milk at the store and come home and smoke a joint and everything's gonna be great. That's my timeline. So we got people living completely different realities right now, and I think it could be that actual different realities. Like it could actually be that they're in a different dimensional plane than us right now. I think it could be.
I love it. Yes, and absolutely, I completely agree. I think that the more you look at it, the more interesting it becomes. Let me come back to Flat Earth because I want to tell you why I like it real quick.
I do too. I think it's fun.
But what I like about it, I'm sure you've thought of this too, is those maps that show extra land. Because the dome thing, okay, whatever. The dome thing actually makes me feel a little claustrophobic, even though it's whatever. But it's that extra land part that I'm a big fan of. Like, just that blows my mind. And then it makes me think of that maybe, and then I, of course, have to apply the different filters through it, right? You run your spirituality filter through it, and you say, well, maybe this is the center point, and life comes from, the North Pole, which is what they call the tree of life and all this. I'm sure you've seen all those maps. And then it starts here, and then we evolve, which is maybe what's happening now, and then we split out physically to a different level here, like a physical level, but now we have access to not only different land, different ideas and concepts, but also technology. So this may be where the Pleiadians and shit are coming from. Maybe everyone's so invested in this idea of keeping the story that we're a ball going that they don't want you to know they're just a few thousand miles across the landmass there, and they don't want shitty humans going across there and infecting their world, right? So they tell you that it's in a damn star system somewhere, so you can't go there, right? And they're just like, oh, whatever. This is also the argument, or the idea I had with Dr. Michael P. Masters about the time travel. Like, if they did create time travel and that's what it was, they probably wouldn't tell you about it. They'd tell you they're from that star system over there because you can't get over there anyway. They're like, stupid humans, I can't go there anyway. Yeah, we're right over there. And then they just zoom off, and then go out to friggin' the next ring, and everything's dope over there, and it's super cool. Yeah. That's my favorite idea about it. That's why I like it. And then it goes like that. And as you spiritually evolve, maybe the dimensions are accessible via a technology or whatever, but they're physical places in this area that ring out. I love that. It's fun. That's
fascinating. Yes, and something else that I find fascinating is the possibility of just beyond the spectrum of our vision is so much life. So just things. I've had, I forget the gentleman's name every time I go to talk about. I feel so bad. I forget his name, but he does great work. He does infrared photography and another kind of photography. I'm forgetting the name, but he takes pictures of the sky and he gets some amazing stuff. He's a professional photographer. photographer, so he knows what lens flares are. He knows what artifacts are. He knows what the bullshit is, and he knows what not real, genuine anomalies are. And he gets squids, he gets fish, he gets massive ships, he gets what look like entities swimming in the sky, amoebas, these huge, enormous, looking like etheric big entities, and fish and whales in the sky. It's complete. I don't know if you've ever seen that show,
Dude,
but
I've got to check it out.
fascinating. Yeah, I'll send you the link to it. I did it a couple of years ago, and this guy does amazing work, and the pictures blew me away. Like, I've never seen anything. I've never seen a skyfish before. It was quite fascinating. So, the fact that there could be these things just beyond the spectrum of our vision right there that we can't see, floating around, or even right next to us, entities, a Bigfoot. It could be, they just phase out of our reality. It's a consideration for me, but that was really fascinating and eye-opening to me that it's very highly possible that these things are there all the time.
Dude, so cool. Send me the link. I'll throw it in the bottom of this show.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to go click directly, and then you can go check out all of his other stuff, if you haven't heard of him by now, but I'm sure everybody has. And I love concepts like that. I've never heard of that one, but I have seen the people that take the picture and they'll like change filters, like out of plane window, and then in all the filters it's nothing, and they'll get to a certain one, there's a big ass UFO there, and then they swipe to the next one and it's nothing, and it's like, so what is that all about? It could be fake, of course, but I think it's fascinating, and I like the idea that that's not all just wasted space up there, right. And that it's like occupied by interdimensional beings that are just that may be right here, like you said. It's not that they're not here; it's that we can't see them. Like, they're there, you just can't see them. Damn, that's cool, dude. Have you heard of that Dicelian dye?
Dicelian dye? No.
Yeah. So apparently it's like this dye that you can drip onto glasses, like to make sunglasses or eyewear out of, and it makes you see into the spiritual realm. It's actually illegal to own. People have synthesized it, but it was something like created in Russia or discovered, and they made this thing. I don't know that I'm pronouncing it right, but it's Dicelian. I'll send you a link or look it up. Like, if you're at your computer right now, dude, check it out. It's called Dicelian dye, something like that. Anyway, and listeners, check that out too. It's a really interesting thing to where they basically make this dye that they drip onto glasses, and then you can like see the spirit realm. That's pretty cool.
That is, yeah.
And then of course it's banned,
amazing.
Which makes it forbidden, which makes it right up your alley, dude.
I have never heard anything like that.
Yeah,
wow.
It's pretty crazy.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do secret space program. What do you think about that?
This is a tough one, man, because I've had some individuals on my show that firmly believe that they've been in these programs like 20 and back. I don't know if the audience is familiar, but this is a program where they supposedly age regress you, send you to other planets to fight as a soldier for up to 20, maybe 40, 60 years at times, and then regress you back to a teenager or something and send you back to your body, 20 years earlier. Things or take you, your consciousness out and put you in a clone of yourself on Mars so you can be a soldier and fight mantis beings and things of this nature. Cool. It'd be like so much fun. It'd be like fucking Star Wars, you know. And I'm convinced that a reality is more like Star Wars than anything anyway.
Absolutely.
But a lot of these people, I'm not sure, but most of them believe their stories wholeheartedly. They believe that these things happen to them. You can sense the trauma. You can sense the emotion. You can see that they're recalling these events, especially Tony Rodriguez is one of my favorites because I can see the recall when he's talking. I can see him, thinking about, and remembering things as he's talking, and it's fascinating. Like, wow, this dude, he's really remembering this. And then there's another part of me going, well, they admitted they were part of MK Ultra programs as children, that they were messed with their mind. How do we know that this was not implanted memories, that this is all fake? That's the other, the more logical or, questioning side of me that goes to that. Were they just fucked with? Were they just given these memories to make the public think that people like that are absolutely nuts and there is no secret space program and they don't do, crazy shit to people? But I think that it's like probably like a 60-40 truth. I don't know. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I know that most of the people I've interviewed that claim to be involved with this stuff, I think they truly believe that they were, and that fascinates me, and it makes me want to look further into it because the stuff that they are saying is fascinating. The information, there's been a lot of profound information that comes out of these whistleblowers, a lot of stuff that turned out to be true again. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting topic, and I love to get into that with people for sure.
I mean, and it is fascinating, the psychological element to it, because it's like, okay, if you were doing MK Ultra shit and you gave them this story or you implanted this memory in them, then why the plants? Like, what did you really have them go do that was so horrible or crazy that you came up with that story to cover it? That's wild.
No, I can believe the the spycraft aspect or the assassin aspect or the honeypot, where they, you say a word over a phone and they're assassin all of a sudden and they're going kill somebody. That's, that happens. It happens
every day. Every day, Chris.
That is reality.
Yeah.
So, but, to be on Mars and doing this is a different story, and, like Tony says, he was in brothels on Sirius A, which is fucking crazy, but he truly believes he's there, and the stories he told are fascinating. I thought I was there with him when he was telling me. It was great.
Have you ever seen the movie The Village by M. Night Shyamalan?
Yes.
Okay. So what if our Earth or this reality is like that? What if we're like the Village? Like we're so backwoods and there's a technology just right there, that's way advanced, but they just have it hidden from us for whatever reason.
Sometimes I think it's the machine elves outside of that village, and they're controlling everything.
It's the goddamn machine elves, you're right.
Yeah, man, I think about that all the time. I do think we're babies of the universe. I think we don't know shit. I think that, the very few of us that have a glimpse into the spiritual world are very unique, and it doesn't happen often. And the ones that are seeking are just as unique because there's not many of us. There's not many of us that want to seek this knowledge, that want to look into the other side, that want to look into the unknown, that want to know what's really going on and to know the true nature of reality. So just to have that curiosity and that desire, that's like a very small percentage of the people on this planet. And I think that's kind of the percentage that are waking up right now and coming into their own and wanting to seek their own, spiritual truth and things that are going on, and want to know the true nature of reality, and that they've been lied to their whole fucking lives by our own government and things of this nature. It's not a big percentage of people, but I think it's growing. I think that since 2020, there's a lot more of us, and I think that we're popping in there, and I'm hopeful that we keep awakening as a species and as a planet, and we can maybe all jump on this timeline.
Yeah. There's this video I saw on TikTok where this dude broke down how positive energy works against negative energy, and he did it in degrees of human individuals, right? So he said for every one person that's awake, it wakes up 10 million people or something crazy like that. I can't quote it exactly, but it was some astronomical number, and it goes up every time you increase a person. Like you get to like 3 people, it's like equivalent to 700,000. It's insane or something like that. But it feels like that though. But I think that it's supposed to be like that. I think that not everybody is going to be like that. Now maybe we had something like that, and maybe we're evolving into something like that. But I think that it's very cyclical what we're experiencing right now, and there's like these 1,000-year stretches, maybe, or at least a couple hundred year stretches of like the alternate energy, and it kind of prepares you to move you to build the energy that you need for the next one. But that energy eventually wanes and leads to the next, which is this cycle. Have you ever heard of the plasma apocalypse, dude?
If you're referring to like, ancient plasma storms that, formed canyons and wiped out civilizations. Yeah, that's fascinating.
I love
Definitely.
that. And that it happens kind of on a cycle.
Right. That's what could have formed the Grand Canyon and things like that. Could have wiped out civilizations on Mars. Yeah, that's fascinating. It's like equivalent to 100 nuclear explosions when that thing passes through a planet.
There was this dude that had this video, and same thing. Amy Belair of Third Eye Podcast, Third Eye Awakening. She sent it to me, so I'll link it in the show notes as well. This is going to be big show notes, guys. A lot of extra stuff to do down there. But it has to do with this plasma apocalypse, and the dude has his own interpretation on it. But what he talks about is fascinating. It's above the North Pole, which is like this, where all this etheric, magnetic everything is. There's going to be a huge hole that opens in the sky, and it lets all of this plasma in, and things fuck with gravity and electromagnetism and everything, and like people will float, and everything will just float. That's not physically like bolted to the ground or something, and everyone just kind of floats. There'll be people frozen in place, like flash freezes that just occur, and this also correlates to like a pole shift or something like that too. And it's this amazing scene of things being instantly turned to stone, which maybe that Sibs on Insta. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay. It's like this whole profile of things where they show that all of these correlations between rocks and like giants.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I
definitely.
love that.
Yeah,
and that's where
that's
you
awesome.
talk about like Devil's Tower and stuff like that. Like all of that happens, but it happens on a cycle. So then whenever the plasma releases and most of this world is cleansed, because that's what it is, it's basically the rapture or the Noah's flood or anything like that. Like it happens on these cycles, so it's predictable. And there's elements of like the hijacking by the elites that know about this. And of course, our calendars aren't right. Our history is all fucked. And so they control all of this stuff. But I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I thought, it was interesting. I just kind of wanted to get your take on it.
Man, this is like the stuff I started out with, the cyclical cataclysms, because when I started out, I was convinced that we were going to be wiped out within a few years from one of these either plasma storms or Planet X or something like that. And I would look all into that stuff. And, the grand solar minimum is fascinating to me. The fact that our magnetic north is zipping towards Siberia like super fast. Over the past few years, I forget how many miles a week, but it's moving. It's really taken off. And if it does happen to reach a certain point, it's going to be inevitable where we're going to have a magnetic reversal. And, nobody truly knows what the effects of that be. They know for sure it would probably wipe out power on the entire planet for a substantial amount of time. No internet, no electricity, no nothing. It would send us back to the 1800s for a good while. And to get that infrastructure back up and running would probably cause an apocalypse. People can't survive with they don't know how. They don't know how to survive without electricity and all this, our modern creature comfort. So that would wipe out everything. And we don't know the full effects other than the wiping out of our power that it could have. It could trigger, even a complete pole shift, like you were saying, where all these fucked up things happen. Like, have you ever heard of the Adam and Eve story, the declassified CIA story from Chan Thomas, I believe?
Oh, God, no, but bring it, please.
Okay, so this is like an apocalyptic kind of thesis that this dude did for the CIA, talking about how the world would end if we had a pole shift. And it's terrifying. Like, 1,000-foot waves engulfing entire continents. Shit. People's flesh being ripped off from the speed of the wind.
Oh my God.
Yeah, things like that, and it totally destroying civilization. There's no way anybody could survive. If you have a wall of water that can go across a continent, you're pretty fucked.
That's problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, and people's flesh being ripped from the speed of the wind and the storms. Yeah. So, and he said, the core of the Earth, if something like that would happen, could also somehow split open and release all this magma, and all the volcanoes would go off at the same time. We'd have huge cracks opening in the Earth. Not only would we have it would be just total, destruction, cataclysm of everything, and we'd have a complete reset.
But I got to be honest.
That's terrifying.
I got to be honest, so what a fucking way to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
like, think about it. Out of all the ways you could go, that's pretty fucking dope. Having your flesh ripped off by wind, I'm pretty sure it happened quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's your research. Go look up the Adam and Eve story, the declassified CIA documentation. Some of it's still, redacted, but they got some good stuff in there.
I will. I'll check that out. And it made me think of the Adam Apocalypse that I just recently came across. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so.
It's these old texts that were found, and they were banned and burned is the story. Who knows about these things? But it was a text. One of them was saved or whatever. But it's basically the opposite of the Bible completely. It talks about how God is actually the devil, and the snake was the one that was offering wisdom. And it's an ancient text that was written, I guess, before or alongside the Bible. So it was kind of like the real story is what it's touted as. But it's fascinating. Like, everything's inversed.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with like that demiurge type, the old kind of story that the real God is not the one that's portrayed in the Bible, and basically he's known as Yahweh, and he's a vengeful, controlling God that wants to enslave the planet. And the real God is, of course, source and part of everything, and just it's the universe to me. But that's fascinating too, that we're controlled by some kind of satanic demiurge.
Yeah, I think that's weird. And like the whole prison planet idea with like us being livestock, and things like that. That's wild. I mean, the mind goes crazy on this stuff. And that's why I love like your show, man, and all the people you have on, because it's fascinating, the topics that you get into. You're just a badass, and especially at what you do. Man. So you can have 2 superpowers. Go.
2 superpowers. Oh, shit. Let's see. Flying. Flying would be cool.
Okay.
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know, man. That's a really tough one. I never thought about that before.
And you have to think about, if you fly, that you have to kind of either control your altitude, or you've got to get boned up in some way. Maybe that's your part of it. You have to become impervious and breathe different because the air gets thin depending on how high you go.
Yeah,
right?
And maybe fly and then have the ability to go underwater.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah.
I could go deep
dope.
sea and to the stratosphere.
Yeah. Like a badass, like I think Superman can do that, right? He can breathe underwater, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. We'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
I'm always curious just to see like what people, if they had no physical like limitation, if they could pick a limitation that they would like to alleviate physically, like what that would be. I think that's pretty interesting. I haven't really gotten any mind powers yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm if I had time to think about it, it'd probably be some kind of powers of the mind, but I need time,
Yeah. Okay, what's the craziest? One more time on that.
I said that was just too much to choose from.
Yeah, I know. It's a bunch of shit, dude. You can do whatever. Psychometry is mine. I want to know, like, that's where you touch an object and you know the history of it. I think that's fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I would love that. You just walk over to the pyramids and you're like, oh, yeah, I know how they did that. You guys are all wrong. You know what I mean? Or touch like an item or a key. You'd know exactly where that lock is or something. It'd just be cool. I don't know. It'd be like a fun way to be like a super detective or something cool. So what's something crazy about like the natural world that just blows your mind? And like you're like, how the fuck does this even exist? But it's a real thing out here.
I've always been drawn to, I don't know if I'm, wonder how, what it is, but I've always been drawn to mountains. I've always been drawn to mountain areas. Like I live in Denver now, and anytime I'm, feeling down or questioning anything, I'll just go out and look at the mountains and be immediately transported into, a place of peace. I was out there earlier today. And I love looking at them. I love going climb them, feeling the energy on them. See, like you were talking about earlier, seeing the mountains that are shaped like giants, and the possibilities that, they could have been flash frozen giants and things of that nature. These huge structures that look like animals, flash frozen animals, all these amazing structures like that, mountains and anomalies, even the doors to nowhere like they have in Peru that are carved into mountains, things like that are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly the if you're talking natural mountainous structures, things like that.
Hell yeah. What do you think about the mud flood in Tartaria? Do you think that's a real thing?
I'm leaning, man. I think that's fascinating. I just recently started looking into that, and I had Max on a few months ago to talk about it, and I had another guest. I forgot his name.
Oh,
I'll remember it one time. Yeah, I know. But yeah, that's fascinating too. I think it's highly possible, and it's highly possible that we have like a whole section of added history or missing history to what our reality is. So that's awesome. Yeah.
I think it's super legit, and I love the hell out of it. I think it's so cool. Well, cool, man. Okay, well, let's do one more, and then I'll let you go. Dude, I could just ask you about fucking everything, because you're cool as shit to talk to, and you're welcome back anytime. You know that, man.
Awesome.
You're brother.
Yeah, I'm having fun. It's great.
Cool. All right, what do you think ghosts are?
Ghosts. I think ghosts mostly I think it's kind of like a residual energy or a memory that's trapped here oftentimes. I like, especially if you see, an apparition, pass by, or you're like Gettysburg and you start to see a Civil War reenactment occurred in front of you. I think those are memories. Those are like trapped energy that kind of repeats itself through time. Now, I do think that there are paranormal phenomenon where there are entities that can, cause things to happen, poltergeists, lower vibrational spirits that can affect people and attach to people and attach to houses or buildings. I think that's very possible. So I think it's a combination of things. I think it is intelligent consciousness that from this unseen realm. I think that's part of it, and I also think it's a combination of like trapped memories and energy that, for whatever reason, permeates through either like a tragic event or something that creates this massive amount of energy that traps this spectral kind of electromagnetic vision there.
Forbidden Knowledge News, along with all the ways to find Chris, will be linked down in the show notes, guys. Please go check that out, as well as all that other fun stuff, too. I'll have to go back and... I wouldn't note in any of it, but I will link all that shit that I said that I would, because I'm a man of my word. But, Chris, dude, can't thank you enough for your time, brother. You are welcome back, of course, any damn time, man. Truly grateful, and just make it a great rest of your evening, dude.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a blast, and honored to be here, and I'd love to talk to you again. That was great.
I want to give a huge shout out to Chris Mathieu for spending some time on the show with this. Dude is so cool. He does a wonderful show. Linked in the show notes is all the ways to find him, guys. Also linked in the show notes is going to be expandingrealitypodcast.com. If you want to expand your experience on the show here, that is where all the socials are located. YouTube, Rockfin for premium content and extra stuff like that. T-shirts, merch and stuff is out there. Anyway, all that stuff's over there, guys. Linked in the show notes. Enjoy. So go out into this beautiful place, whatever the hell this thing is, and y'all pick up a piece of litter, buy a coffee or a meal or something small or big, whatever you want, and for just a stranger, somebody you don't know in line around you or behind you or whatever. Be nice to every entity, animal, lizard, person, whatever you come across. Get out of the left-hand lane. Of course, we appreciate that. That is sweeping the nation, and we're grateful for it. So nice job, guys. And of course, go out into this beautiful landscape in front of you, and y'all just be good to one another. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.